So if you're somebody who's into paddleboarding, but you don't feel so secure standing up on a board, like my wife, they have other things for you. And this right here is one that I'm going to give a try out today for my wife, because she's not 100% sure about her balance on the board. So show you what it looks like here in a second. So open the box. Hey, look, 3-year warranty. Nice. Hopefully should not need it. And what we get, interesting, has an air valve just like an air mattress or whatever. It's got a nice nylon cover. It's got its own straps for strapping it to the board. So yeah, let's inflate it and see what this looks like. So inside of that cover is just a vinyl bladder to hold air, probably like a air mattress. It's even got a valve very similar to one, and we'll pop this up. Just to cheat, I'm using my battery powered pump with the adapter for the beach balls and air mattresses and things like that, and letting that do the work as we get this inflated to a good pressure. So the trick is, as you inflate it, to keep this aligned, you may probably have to reach down inside through the slot here that's on the bottom and kind of wiggle and press and move things around to make sure that it is really lined up with where it's supposed to be. But once you get it, this is what it will look like, and then you can just kind of inflate, maybe even really with your mouth, to the correct hardness. I'm just trying to think, if I was sitting on it, I don't maybe want it as hard as a rock, but this seems like a nice amount right here. So as soon as this little storm shower goes over, we're gonna try it out. Hope you guys are enjoying paddle boarding, or maybe you're thinking about getting into it, and maybe you have issues with your balance, and maybe standing up on your board is not yet something you can do. So maybe you've been paddling sitting down, or you're trying to get into that transition stage where you're kneeling. And of course, a lot of people, their knees aren't quite what they used to be, and that gets painful after a while. So something for you guys to try. This is the, I guess it's Jobe or Jobe. It is called the SUP seat. It's usable for, really, you could actually have 2 people on here if you had a child and an adult. But the whole idea being that you take it and inflate it. It's inflatable, so it weighs next to nothing, and you put it on top of your board. And I believe this is the orientation they want you to have it. And then the whole idea is that you take these straps and the buckles and put them around the board. And if you have an inflatable, that would probably work awesome. This, on the other hand, is a very fast, I guess you call it, it's touring kayak, or paddleboard. It's not quite a racing one. You could race on it, but it's wide, makes it nice and stable. It's perfect for doing out here on the ocean like I'm doing today, or just wanting to go fast, which I love to. But when I put the straps around this and I paddled, I could feel the resistance of the water catching those straps and making them flutter. I know if I twisted them, it might make it better, it might make it worse. I expect it would make it worse, just because they set up a resistance. I could see the weight coming off the back of the board was much more troubled, and I could feel a difference. And as soon as I just unbuckled these and let them stream behind the board, I could feel an instant acceleration difference. So it's one of these things where it's great. I don't know that you really need it attached to your board that way. There's definitely better ways it could be. I know from my hard boards, they're all going to have a handhold like that, and I've instantly been thinking of maybe like one of those balls you squeeze when you're giving blood, foam sponge ball that you could shove down in there, because this is shaped so it's wider down underneath, and something that would lock in there with just like a strap through it would probably be a better thing, because it doesn't really need to be super attached to the board. If you're using it, you're going to be sitting on it. As far as sitting or kneeling, it is perfect because it keeps you at the right height. For standing with it on the board all the time, it's a little wide. You know, if you're a beginner, you're going to be standing wide. You're going to have your feet right out there in those grooves on the edge of the foam. But once you get into it and you know what you're doing, I'll show you with the idea I've got, but I'm no longer going to use those straps the way they intended. I'm just going to have a ball and a strap type of setup, so I can kick it back behind me when I want. But then if I do want to sit, eat lunch, or who knows what, I can just slide it up and also make it much more easy to transfer between boats. As I said, I got this for my wife, and then a thunderstorm rolled in and we didn't get to go, and she has actually not been paddleboarding yet this year. She will come out at some point, but she's busy or tired, or paddleboarding isn't really her thing compared to the way it is for my children. They love to go because they want to go swimming, and she can't swim, so she has to wear a life jacket, and it's not as much fun. But yeah, as far as a useful item to sit on, it actually works very well. The angled top to it, once you inflate it and you're kneeling, and here I am kneeling on it right now. It puts my knees right out on the edges of the board. Somebody else, like a kid, could sit right here. Of course, they'd probably get in the way of paddling, but good place to put your lunch or whatever. And this actually being inflatable wouldn't be a problem if I had a way to just kick it back behind me and out of the way when I didn't want it, or something to take along. It's too big really to inflate. It's comfortable to sit on. It has this nice anti-skid material, and it's vinyl on the sides. It's good quality. I really bought it just because it was the cheapest one they sold. It was around, I don't know, $50, probably a little bit more with shipping. But for taking beginners out paddling, especially somebody who wants to sit and doesn't want to stand, this would actually work. So I wouldn't have to bring along a kayak. I could bring just a paddleboard for them to sit on. It doesn't have a backrest, so that if you're somebody who wants a backrest, this isn't what you want. You'd actually want like a regular inflatable seat or a clip-on seat or something like that. But for a lot of your paddleboarding, and especially someone who's working towards getting to the point they could stand up, this would actually be very good. Yeah. So there's the seat in action. Allows her to not have so much weight on her knees and still sit on the board without having to sit right down flat. So she's still upright, which is much better than just having a seat sitting on top of the board, especially in rough water. And another nice thing about it is if you do actually get stable enough to stand, you can just kind of kick the seat back a little and you'll be all set.